Hey guys, Logan here from Popular Woodworking Magazine. Did you guys know that June is National Safety Month? And in that spirit, I want to talk to you about shop safety and how you can work safely in your shop. Now this really breaks apart into two separate areas. One is our shop as a work environment, and the second is PPE, or personal protective equipment, how we protect ourselves. So let's first talk about our shop as a work environment and making sure that that work environment is safe. The first thing we need to do is make sure that our shop is safe to walk around in. This means that there is no trip hazards, such as sawdust on the floor or power cables that are strung out that you're going to trip over. Now, if you're working at your bench with a portable power tool, we can go ahead and make sure that cord is put away as soon as you're done with that operation. I have a tendency in my shop to leave cords laying out and then I'm always stepping over them, and that just creates a trip hazard. However, if that power cord is permanently powering a stationary tool and that cord is strung across a walkway, I want to make sure that we secure that cord down somehow. You have two different options to do this in my mind. First, you can tape it down so you can't get your foot under it and trip. Or what I like to do is use my floor mats that I have in my shop and just lay it over the power cord. It creates a little bit of a bump in the mat, but it's easy to walk over and it doesn't create a trip hazard. The next thing we need to look at as our shop as an environment is how we work in it. And what I mean by that is if you're doing an operation that feels a little sketchy, the odds are is that it is sketchy. So we want to make sure that we are using safe practices on all of our tools. Now the final thing to note as you're working in your shop is most of us work in our shops alone. A lot of times this means moving big parts, heavy lumber by ourselves. Now I'm one that's pretty bullheaded, but sometimes it's better to wait until you have a helping hand. So if you're moving big heavy objects, get some help, don't strain yourself. So now let's talk about personal protective equipment, or PPE. I think this is probably more what most of us are used to talking about when we're thinking of shop safety. First thing we need to talk about is eye protection. As we're working in our shop, we're working with objects that can create dust or create flying objects. So we need to make sure our eyes are protected. Now obviously most of us do this with safety glasses. So the type of safety glasses I like to use are these guys. These are cheap, they come in 4-packs at most big box stores, and I can keep a bunch of them in my shop, so there's always a pair that's close at hand. And because they're super lightweight, they have no frames on them, I find that I don't notice I'm wearing them, so once I put them on, I just leave them on in my shop. And these are a really good option, at least for me, how I work. But there are a couple of other options available. One of those options is going to be something like this, and this is a face shield. Now, most of the time when I use a face shield in my shop, it's because I'm at the lathe turning. And a lot of times what I'm turning has bark on it or large chunks that could fly off. So not only do I want to protect my eyes, I want to protect the rest of my face as well. So that's when I reach for my face shield. Now, the other option is for those of you guys that wear seeing eyeglasses. Most of the time, seeing eyeglasses are actually rated for shatter resistance. Now, you'll have to check with the manufacturer of your glasses, but a lot of times they will serve as safety glasses. But you can protect yourself a little bit better, either by buying over the glass safety glasses that will actually slip on over your seeing eyeglasses, or at least by buying side shields for your seeing eyeglasses. This will add a little bit more protection and it'll keep you safe and allow you to see still. So now that we have our eyes covered, the next thing we need to look at is going to be our ears. So that's going to be hearing protection. Now, hearing protection is one of those things that most people know they should use it, but not everybody does. And I think the reason for that is that hearing damage from shop tools is a cumulative effect. That means that it adds up over time. While your ears might buzz a little bit after you've been in the shop all day, after years of doing that, it's going to lead to hearing damage. So we need to make sure our ears are protected. There's a couple different ways we can do this. The first way is with an over-the-ear earmuffs like these guys. And I like these because they create a nice tight seal around your ear and they block out a lot of the sound. These are even available with radios built into them or with Bluetooth connections so you can listen to books on tape, which is what I often do at my shop. The one thing I don't like about these is if it's warm in the shop, these can cause your ears to get a little sweaty. So another great option is going to be some in-the-ear earplugs like these guys. They often come in little packages, so they're technically seen as disposable, but I found you can reuse them quite often. Just make sure they don't get dusty or you're shoving dust in your ears. Now, whichever way you choose, it's just important to make sure that you are protecting your ears, so pick up a good set of hearing protection. The last part of this puzzle is going to be protecting your lungs. And I think this is one that often goes overlooked, and I think more people need to pay attention to it because it is one of the most damaging things that can happen in our shop. So we have dust collection most of the time in our shop, right at the tool. And that's great. That does a good job generally of collecting all the dust that's created right there, but there's still a little bit of dust that gets away. It's the dust that can't be grabbed by the dust collector. And that's the stuff that is really harmful for your health. Now, the EPA says that particulates that are 2.5 microns and smaller can be absorbed directly into the bloodstream. So how do we protect ourselves from that? Well, we have a couple of different options, and there's one particular I like and a couple that I dislike. So let's run through those. The first is going to be wearing something like this. This is just a dust mask. This is a paper mask that has a nose tab on it, and it simply goes around your head and creates a seal around your mouth. Now, what I don't like about this, and I implied it, is that they don't seal very well. These guys are fairly inexpensive, but the cost does add up over time. But I have worn these before as I'm, like, say, spraying a finish or doing drywall work, and as soon as I remove the mask, you can see lines of finish or drywall dust where this does not seal. And I just don't care for it. They're not comfortable. They tend to get really hot, and it sounds silly, but they often fog up my safety glasses as I'm wearing them because they don't seal very well. So not my favorite option, not what I choose to wear in my shop. Now the next option is going to be something like this. This is a respirator. Now these are really good for spraying finishes. You can get different filters for these guys. One's for particulates, one for organic compounds that will take care of VOCs and stuff. And these are really good for spraying finishes or doing any finishing tasks in your shop, as it's going to protect you from a lot of those chemicals if you have the proper types of filters. However, like that mask, these get really hot, and they're in varying weights. So some of them are really heavy, and these big straps on the back just are not terribly comfortable to use. Now I will use these, like I said, as I'm finishing because they're going to protect you from all those VOCs that are in a lot of oil-based finishes. But for general shop tasks, I find this is not only overkill, but it's not comfortable. So what do I like? The type of masks that I've started wearing in my shop are these guys. These are reusable masks from a company called RZ Masks. Now these are available in a bunch of different styles. There is the M1, M2, there's an M2.5. Basically, that means that these reusable masks on the outside are made of different materials depending on what style you get. Some of them are mesh, some of them are nylon, and some of them even come with these fun designs on them that are kind of like a limited run thing. But what I like about these is you pick your size that you're going to buy in this. So these come in medium, large, and extra large, and you size them based on the size of your face. Now the mask itself has a little bit of stretch on it. So after you order your size, you can kind of fine tune the fit with the elastic band on the side. And there's a couple of reasons I really like these. First is that they're super comfortable. Unlike the paper mask or the respirator, these things don't get very hot and they seal extremely well. And I think that is the most important thing, is that these seal well and they allow the paper filter on the inside to do its job. Now, these paper filters on the inside, they will filter down to 0.1 microns. That means these are going to filter out 99.9% of all the dust that's floating around in your shop. And that's really good. Now, the RZ masks are a little bit more expensive than paper masks, but I think you'll find that if you buy these, wear these every time in your shop like you should, that over the course of a year, these guys are far and away cheaper. I think you'll save yourself several $100s by not buying these and just buying one or two of these masks and a bunch of these paper filters that you can replace after they have been used for a number of weeks. And as great as these masks are in the shop, I find that they have a lot of uses outside the shop as well. Really anywhere that you need respiratory protection. That could be working in your home doing some drywall work. It could be mowing the yard on a dusty day when you're eating all that grass that you're mowing. One of the areas that I really like to use these is when I'm out sawmilling and all of a sudden the wind shifts and I'm getting a lot of sawmill dust in my face. It's really nice to be able to throw one of these masks on, have it be comfortable, and then not have that taste of walnut in my mouth all day long. So when you're getting ready to go in your shop, use June as National Safety Month to take a look at your shop practices. Look at your shop as an environment, make sure it's safe, make sure you have proper eye protection, hearing protection, and that you're protecting your lungs.